I stared at my phone, reading the message again, each word burning deeper into my heart. The hospital room was quiet, except for the soft beeping of monitors and my ragged breathing. I was in labor, alone, while my entire family celebrated my sister's third wedding. Sorry, honey, but Sarah's special day is more important. You've had 8 months to prepare for this. She only had 3 months to plan her wedding. I'm sure the nurses will take good care of you. Love, Mom. My hands trembled as I set the phone down. The contractions were getting stronger, but the pain in my chest hurt more. This wasn't the first time Sarah had taken precedence, but it would definitely be the last. I should have seen this coming. Sarah had always been the golden child, the one who could do no wrong, even when she was clearly wrong. Her first marriage lasted 6 months before she cheated with her tennis instructor. The second one barely made it a year before she decided her husband wasn't ambitious enough. Now, here she was on wedding number 3, and somehow, I was still the one being treated like my life didn't matter. Ms. Anderson. A nurse poked her head in, her kind eyes taking in my tear-stained face. Your contractions are getting closer. Is there anyone we can call for you? I shook my head, wiping my eyes. No, there's no one. They're all at a wedding. The nurse's face softened with understanding, and something else. Pity, maybe. I'll stay with you, honey. You don't have to do this alone. But I was alone. I had always been alone, even when surrounded by family. The difference was, now I knew it for certain. My mind drifted back to 3 months ago, when Sarah announced her engagement to Bradley, some rich guy she'd met at a charity gala. She burst into our weekly family dinner, waving her hand with yet another enormous diamond ring. We're getting married, she'd squealed. Our parents jumped up to embrace her, completely forgetting that I had just been telling them about my complicated pregnancy. But Sarah, I'd said carefully, you know I'm due around that time. The doctor said it could be dangerous, that I might need an emergency C-section. She waved her hand dismissively. Oh please, Emma. Babies are born every day. This is my wedding we're talking about. Besides, it's not like you're doing anything special. You're just having a baby. I'm starting a new life. I'd looked to our parents for support, but Mom was already on her phone, calling relatives, and Dad was opening champagne. No one seemed to care that I was sitting there, 7 months pregnant, with tears in my eyes. That night, I'd gone home and looked at my bank accounts. Years of being the responsible one had left me financially stable. I'd been paying our parents' mortgage since Dad's early retirement. My name was on most of their utilities. I'd even been covering Sarah's car payments because she needed to maintain her image in her social circle. Another contraction hit, stronger this time. I gripped the hospital bed rails, breathing through the pain. The nurse checked my progress and announced I was almost fully dilated. My baby was coming, and my family was probably watching Sarah walk down the aisle for the 3rd time. You're doing great, the nurse encouraged, holding my hand. Just breathe. I did breathe, and with each breath, my resolve strengthened. I thought about all the times I put my family first. The college fund I gave up so Sarah could go to her dream school in Europe. The promotion I turned down because it would mean moving away from home, and family needs to stick together. The countless times I covered their bills, solved their problems, been their safety net. The next few hours were a blur of pain, pushing, and finally, the most beautiful sound I'd ever heard, my daughter's first cry. As they placed her in my arms, tiny and perfect, I felt something shift inside me. This was my family now, this perfect little being who needed me more than anyone ever had. Hello, Lily, I whispered, touching her soft cheek. I promise you'll never know what it feels like to be second best. My phone buzzed again. A photo from the wedding. Sarah in her designer dress, our parents beaming beside her, champagne glasses raised. The caption read, "Perfect day with our perfect daughter." Nothing could make this day more special. I looked at my sleeping daughter, then at my phone. With trembling fingers, I opened my banking app. It was time they learned what special really meant. First, I canceled the automatic payments for their mortgage. Then the utilities. Sarah's car payment? Deleted. The credit cards I co-signed? Frozen. One by one, I dismantled the financial web that had kept them comfortable for so long. The nurse returned with paperwork, concerned about my elevated heart rate. Are you okay, Ms. Anderson? I nodded, feeling calmer than I had in years. I'm perfect. Just taking care of some long overdue business. That night, as Lily slept peacefully in her hospital bassinet, the messages started flooding in. First, from the wedding venue, apparently my parents' credit card had been declined for the final payment. Then from Sarah, her car payment hadn't gone through. Finally from Mom. Something's wrong with all our accounts. Call us immediately. I didn't respond. Instead, I wrote an email to my lawyer, instructing him to send formal notices to all of them. No more access to my accounts. No more financial support. No more safety net. The next morning, as I was preparing to take Lily home, Dad called. His voice was tight with panic. Emma, what's going on? The bank says we're 3 months behind on the mortgage, but that's impossible. You always handle that. Not anymore, I said quietly. I had more important things to handle yesterday, like giving birth to your granddaughter. Alone. There was a long silence. Emma, you know Sarah's wedding was important. More important than your first grandchild? More important than your daughter who might have died giving birth? More important than the person who's been keeping you all afloat for years? That's not fair, he spluttered. We're family. I looked at Lily, sleeping peacefully in her car seat. No, Dad. Lily is my family now, and she'll never know what it feels like to be less important than someone else's wedding. The calls kept coming as I drove home. Sarah was hysterical. Her perfect honeymoon would have to be canceled without my financial backing. Mom alternated between guilt trips and threats. Dad tried reasoning, then begging. I ignored them all. At home, I set up Lily's nursery, the one I prepared myself because my family had been too busy with wedding preparations to help. As I rocked her to sleep that night, I felt no guilt, no regret, just peace. A week passed, then 2. The messages became more desperate. Sarah's new husband wasn't happy about their canceled honeymoon. My parents' perfect life was crumbling without my support. Good. Let them feel what it's like to not be the priority for once. Your father and I raised you better than this, Mom's last voicemail said. How can you be so selfish? I recorded my response while feeding Lily. You're right, Mom. You did raise me better than this. You raised me to believe family comes first. So that's exactly what I'm doing, putting my family first. My daughter will never know what it feels like to be an afterthought. A month after Lily's birth, I received an invitation to Sarah's housewarming party. Apparently, her new husband's family money wasn't quite what she'd expected, and they'd had to downsize dramatically. I sent back a simple response. Sorry, but Lily's nap time is more important. The irony wasn't lost on any of us. As I finish writing this part of my story, Lily is sleeping peacefully in her crib. My phone shows dozens of missed calls from family members, all probably wanting to know when I'll stop this nonsense and return to being their personal bank. But I'm done. The daughter who always said yes, who always put others first, who measured her worth by how much she could give, she's gone. In her place is a mother who knows her value, who understands that sometimes the best family is the one you create yourself. Tomorrow I'll meet with my lawyer to make everything official. No more shared accounts. No more co-signed loans. No more financial ties binding me to their manipulation. Let them figure out how to live without their safety net. Because Lily deserves better than a mother who teaches her that love comes with conditions, that family means sacrifice without reciprocation, that her worth is measured by how useful she is to others. As I close my laptop, I hear Lily stirring. Time for her midnight feeding, and as I lift her into my arms, I smile, knowing that every decision I've made since that day in the hospital has been the right one. Because some days are more important than others, and the day I chose my daughter over their manipulation was the most important day of all. 3 months after Lily's birth, the consequences of my decision were becoming clear. My once pristine front yard now regularly hosted unannounced family visitors, each trying different tactics to regain their financial lifeline. It was a crisp autumn morning when Sarah showed up, her designer clothes noticeably less flashy than before. I watched through the security camera as she paced on my porch, repeatedly pressing the doorbell. Emma, please. Her voice cracked. Bradley's family is threatening to annul the marriage. They say we misrepresented our financial situation. I need your help. I adjusted Lily in my arms, her tiny hands clutching my shirt as she slept. The irony wasn't lost on me. Sarah's third marriage was falling apart just as my new life was coming together. Go away, Sarah, I said through the intercom. I'm busy with my daughter. You know, the one whose birth you all missed? That was months ago, she shouted, her composure cracking. Are you really going to hold that against us forever? It was my wedding day. Your third wedding day, I corrected calmly. And yes, I am. Because it wasn't just about missing the birth. It was about every time you were more important, every sacrifice I made, every moment I was expected to give up for you. Through the camera, I watched her face contort with familiar manipulation. Mom and Dad are about to lose the house. They might have to move in with me and Bradley, but we can barely afford our own place now. Is that what you want? I looked down at Lily, peacefully unaware of the drama unfolding outside. What I want is for my daughter to grow up knowing her worth isn't measured by how much she can give to people who only take. Sarah's next words came out as a sob. They've started selling furniture. Dad's looking for work again. But no one wants to hire him at his age. Mom cries every night. We're your family, Emma? No, I said firmly. Lily is my family now. And she's teaching me something important. That real love doesn't come with conditions or constant demands. As if on cue, Lily stirred and began to fuss. I need to feed my daughter now. Don't come back, Sarah. You're not welcome here. I turned off the intercom, ignoring her continued pleas. As I settled into the nursery rocking chair to feed Lily, my phone buzzed with a text from Mom. Your sister just called us crying. How can you be so cruel? We gave you life, raised you, loved you. You owe us. I typed back one-handed. You're right, you gave me life. And I'm finally living it on my terms. As for loving me, love doesn't keep score or demand payment. The next day, Dad showed up. He looked older, tired, his usually pristine golf attire replaced by worn jeans and a faded shirt. He carried a photo album under his arm. Against my better judgment, I opened the door, Lily secured in her baby carrier against my chest. You're looking well, he said awkwardly, eyes fixed on Lily. She's beautiful. She is, I agreed. What do you want, Dad? He held up the photo album. I thought maybe we could look at some old pictures, remember better times, when we were a real family. You mean when I was the family ATM? His face reddened. That's not fair. We're struggling, Emma, really struggling. Your mother had to cancel her country club membership. Sarah's marriage is falling apart. We might lose everything. I adjusted Lily's carrier, her warm weight against my chest, giving me strength. You already lost everything, Dad. The day you chose Sarah's third wedding over your first grandchild's birth, he lost me. And Lily, were they everything you should have valued? He tried to step inside, but I blocked the doorway. Please, he whispered, just look at the photos. Remember how good we were together. Were we? I asked softly, or was I just too afraid to say no? Too conditioned to believe that family meant sacrificing everything, even myself. Lily began to stir, making small snuffling noises that indicated she'd be hungry soon. Dad looked at her with longing. Could I hold her? Just once? No, I said firmly. You lost that privilege when you chose a party over her birth. When you valued Sarah's third attempt at marriage over your first grandchild's life. His face crumpled. We made a mistake. A terrible mistake. But shouldn't family forgive? I have forgiven, I replied. That's why I'm not angry anymore. But forgiveness doesn't mean letting people hurt you again. It means being wise enough to love yourself more than their approval. I closed the door on his protests, just as Lily began to cry in earnest. As I soothed her, I caught a glimpse of myself in the hallway mirror, straight-backed, clear-eyed, strong. The woman who had always said yes was gone, replaced by a mother who knew how to say no. That evening, I received an email from Sarah's lawyer. She was getting divorced again. Bradley's family had discovered the extent of her financial deception. She wanted to know if I would help with her legal fees. I deleted the email without responding. Looking at Lily's peaceful face as she slept in her crib, I knew I had made the right choice. My daughter would grow up knowing that love doesn't come with a price tag, that family means more than financial obligations, and that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is walk away from people who only see your value in what you can give them. The old photos Dad brought remained on my porch until the rain ruined them. Somehow, it felt fitting, the past washing away, making room for a future I was building on my own terms. A future where my daughter would never have to question her worth or measure her love in dollar signs. 6 months after Lily's birth, I received an unexpected visit that would test my resolve in ways I hadn't anticipated. It was my Aunt Jane, my mother's older sister, whom I hadn't seen in years because she'd been banished from family gatherings after calling out Sarah's manipulative behavior at her first wedding. She stood on my porch, different from the other visitors. No desperation, just quiet understanding in her eyes. "You look good, Emma," she said when I opened the door. "Motherhood suits you." I hesitated, then stepped aside to let her in. If anyone could understand my situation, it would be Aunt Jane. She'd been through something similar years ago, choosing to walk away from the family's toxic dynamics. "I heard what happened," she said, settling onto my living room couch while I prepared tea. "About the birth, the wedding, everything. Your mother's been calling everyone, telling her version of events." I laughed humorlessly. "Let me guess. I'm the ungrateful daughter who abandoned her family when they needed her most." Actually, Jane smiled wryly. "She's managed to make herself the victim. Apparently, she's the poor mother whose cruel daughter is punishing her for one tiny mistake." One tiny mistake. I set the tea down harder than necessary, causing Lily to stir in her nearby bassinet. "They chose Sarah's third wedding over their grandchild's birth. They've been choosing Sarah over everything for years." Jane reached over and squeezed my hand. "I know. That's why I'm here. I wanted you to know you're not alone. And to warn you, they're planning something." My stomach tightened. "What do you mean?" "Your mother called me yesterday, trying to recruit me for their latest scheme. They're planning to show up here on Sunday, all of them. Your parents, Sarah, even some extended family members. They think if they confront you as a united front, you'll cave." I felt the old anxiety rising but pushed it down. They don't know me anymore. The old Emma might have given in, but that person's gone. "I can see that," Jane nodded approvingly. "But be prepared. Sarah's been practicing her tears, and your mother's got quite the speech planned about family loyalty and obligation." I looked over at Lily, peacefully sleeping. "They still don't get it, do they? This isn't about money. It's about respect, about boundaries, about teaching my daughter what real family means." "They'll never get it," Jane said softly. "People like them, they see relationships as transactions. They gave you life, so they think they own you." We talked for hours, Jane sharing stories about her own experience with the family's manipulation. How they tried to guilt her into supporting Sarah's first wedding. How she'd refused and been labeled the family traitor. "Best decision I ever made," she said as she prepared to leave. "It was hard at first, but freedom from toxic people is worth every difficult moment." Sunday came sooner than I expected. True to Jane's warning, they'd arrived in force. 3 cars pulling up to my house, disgorging my parents, Sarah, 2 aunts, and an uncle. They formed a tight group on my front lawn, clearly ready for their intervention. I watched through the security camera, Lily secured in her carrier against my chest. My phone started buzzing with their messages. "Emma, we're all here to talk. Open the door. Don't be childish. We need to resolve this as a family. Your behavior is affecting everyone. Think about what you're doing." I took a deep breath and pressed the intercom button. "I know why you're here. The answer is no." "Emma," Mom's voice cracked with practiced emotion. "Please, we're your family. We've all come together because we love you." "No," I replied calmly. "You're here because your comfortable lives are falling apart without my money. There's a difference." Sarah stepped forward, tears already flowing. "My marriage is over because of you. Bradley's family thinks I'm a fraud." "You were a fraud, Sarah, and your marriage is over because you lied, just like you've been lying your whole life." Dad tried next. "Princess, we've lost everything. The bank is foreclosing on the house. Your mother had to get a job at the grocery store. Is this what you wanted?" I adjusted Lily's carrier, drawing strength from her warm weight. What I wanted was a family who would be there when I needed them most. What I wanted was to matter as much as Sarah's third wedding. What I wanted was to not be treated like an ATM with obligations. "We can change," Mom cried. "We'll do better. We'll be there for you and Lily." "No," I said firmly. "You'll pretend to change until you have access to my money again. Then it'll be back to the same patterns. But here's the thing. I'm not doing this to punish you anymore. I'm doing this to protect my daughter." The group shifted uncomfortably as I continued. "Lily will never know what it feels like to be second best. She'll never learn that love comes with conditions or that family means sacrificing her own well-being. She'll grow up knowing her worth isn't measured by what she can give others." "This is ridiculous," Sarah snapped, her tears suddenly gone. "You're just being spiteful because we missed one day." "One day?" I cut her off. "It wasn't just one day. It was a lifetime of days where I was expected to give everything while you took everything. It was years of putting my life on hold to support your mistakes. It was watching our parents drain my accounts to fund your failures while calling me selfish for wanting anything for myself. Mom started to speak, but I wasn't finished. I've contacted the police. They're on their way. This is your only warning. Leave now or face the consequences. And don't come back, ever. As if on cue, a police car turned onto my street, lights flashing. The group scattered quickly, their united front crumbling in the face of real consequences. As they drove away, I felt Lily stir against my chest. Looking down at her peaceful face, I knew this confrontation was necessary, not just for me, but for her. She would grow up knowing that boundaries are healthy, that love doesn't require sacrifice, and that sometimes the strongest families are the ones we choose for ourselves. That evening, I received a text from Aunt Jane. Heard about what happened. Proud of you, kid. Welcome to the other side of freedom. I smiled, holding Lily close as we rocked in her nursery chair. The other side of freedom, it felt good here. Peaceful. Like finally being able to breathe after years of drowning. 1 year after Lily's birth, I sat in my garden, watching her take wobbly steps through the grass, her delighted giggles filling the air. The past year had brought changes I never expected, all for the better. My parents had finally sold their house, downsizing to a small apartment. Sarah had moved to another state, apparently trying to rebuild her life without an audience. The constant barrage of guilt-tripping messages had dwindled to occasional holiday cards, which I returned unopened. But the most significant change was in me, the anxiety that had once ruled my life, the constant need to please everyone. The guilt about saying no was gone. In its place was a quiet confidence, a certainty that I had made the right choice for both myself and my daughter. Aunt Jane had become a regular part of our lives, visiting weekly with books for Lily and wisdom for me. She watched now from the patio chair as Lily explored her world, fearless and free. You know, Jane said thoughtfully, your mother called me yesterday. I tensed slightly but kept watching Lily. Oh, she's different now. Working at the grocery store has humbled her. She asked about Lily, not demanding to see her, just wanting to know if she's happy. I picked Lily up as she toddled toward me, her small arms wrapping around my neck. And what did you tell her? The truth, that her granddaughter is growing up in a home filled with love, not obligation. That she's learning what real family means. I kissed Lily's curls, breathing in her sweet baby scent. Sometimes I wonder if I was too harsh, cutting them off completely. Do you regret it? Looking at my daughter's bright, confident smile, I shook my head. No, this is the childhood I wanted but never had. No manipulation, no constant pressure to prove her worth through sacrifice. Jane nodded approvingly. That's how you know you made the right choice. Real healing isn't about forgetting the past. It's about creating a better future. Later that evening, after putting Lily to bed, I found an email from Sarah. Unlike her previous messages full of demands and guilt, this one was different. Dear Emma, I've been in therapy for 6 months now. My therapist helped me understand what I did to you, how I took advantage of your kindness for years. I'm not asking for money or forgiveness. I just want you to know I finally understand and I'm sorry. Sarah. I closed the email without responding, but something had shifted. Not enough to rebuild bridges, but enough to let go of the last traces of anger. The following week, I received a small package from my parents. Inside was my old teddy bear from childhood, along with a note. We found this while moving. It belongs to Lily now. We respect your boundaries and won't ask for more than you're willing to give. Love, Mom and Dad. I held the teddy bear, remembering the little girl I once was, who just wanted to be loved without conditions. Lily would have that life, the one I should have had. That night, I added a new page to Lily's baby book. Not just pictures and milestones, but a promise. My dearest Lily, a year ago, I made the hardest and best decision of my life. I chose you, your future, your happiness, your understanding of what family should be. You'll grow up knowing that love doesn't come with price tags, that your worth isn't measured by what you can give others, and that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is say no to those who only know how to take. You'll never have to earn your place in this family. You already have it, unconditionally and forever. Love, Mama. As I close this chapter of our story, Lily sleeps peacefully in her crib, clutching her new old teddy bear. The path I chose wasn't easy, but looking at her, I know it was right. Because sometimes the happy ending isn't about forgiveness or reconciliation. Sometimes it's about finding the strength to walk away and build something better. A legacy of love, respect, and boundaries that will echo through generations. And that's the greatest gift I could give my daughter. The knowledge that she never has to choose between her worth and her family's demands. Because real family lifts you up, it doesn't weigh you down.